13 spine-chilling secrets revealed, the sinister nighttime horrors of my haunted neighbor every night in Maplewood. As the sun sinks behind white picket fences, the once serene suburb transforms into a terrifying picture of unease. Lisa, a 32-year-old single mother, feels it late at night, when shadows crawl across her kitchen floor like living things. She watches her children, Sarah and Jake, asleep in their beds. It should be a peaceful sight. Instead, dread coils around her heart. Graves, her eccentric neighbor, tends his garden after dark, shrouded in whispers and mystery. Wrapped in a tattered army jacket and that wide-brimmed hat, he becomes more ghost than man. What secrets does he bury beneath the moonlit soil? Sarah's innocent words about hushed whispers from his yard settle like a chill in Lisa's bones. Yet, she brushes off her daughter's fears as childish imagination. In this suburb, there can't be real nightmares, right? But with every passing night, the sinister grumbles seem to echo through the streets. Flickering street lamps cast eerie shadows, and Lisa hears strange rustlings outside her window. Confused whispers swirl in the neighborhood, and pets vanish without a trace. The cheers and chortles of her neighbors fade to anxious murmurs. Desperation claws at Lisa, these aren't just kids playing pranks anymore. There's signs of something horrifying lurking just beneath the surface. Stay close, kids, she whispers one evening, feeling the chill creep into her home as she huddles them tight. I will keep you safe. Yet, deep down, uncertainty claws at her mind. She knows she must confront Mr. Graves. With trembling hands, she steps onto his overgrown lawn, the air dense with the scent of damp earth and rot. Shadows stretch and writhe as if trying to pull her under. Her heartbeat drumrolls in her ears. Thud, thud, thud. Each step deeper into the garden reveals buried things that should never be disturbed. What is it they hide there? She stumbles upon a glimmer in the dirt, a rusted metal, caked in grime, once a symbol of valor, now a twisted relic entwined with decay. And then she hears it, the muffled cries from beneath the soil, slicing through the night like a knife, echoing the fears she thought were safely tucked away. An overwhelming realization strikes her like a cold wind. Mr. Graves isn't just a reclusive gardener, he's a harbinger of something deeply wrong. The dark folklore of Maplewood floods her mind, stories of disappearances, of a wartime curse that required blood. A keeper of long-buried secrets. Panic grips her. Had she uncovered too much? Before she can gather her thoughts, she turns to flee, but she freezes. Mr. Graves stands by the gate, his eyes flashing with a knowing malice. Not all secrets are meant to be uncovered, Lisa, he warns, that chilling smile creeping across his lips. Terror grips her soul. There's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Lisa feels the walls of her safe little world closing in, the weight of hidden horrors pressing down. Should she dive deeper into the darkness or protect her children, even if it means remaining ignorant? The shadows churn with foreboding, and as she makes her decision, every step feels heavier than the last. What had begun as an innocent curiosity turns into a terrifying fight for survival against a figure cloaked in dark magic and the blood-soaked history of Maplewood. This isn't just about her anymore. Her children's lives hang in the balance. What other secrets lie in the night? Lisa's heart pounds in her chest as Mr. Graves looms just a few paces away, his shadow stretching towards her like a gaping maw. The thick silence weighs heavy, each second a pulse of unending dread. She feels trapped in a game she never wished to play, with a predator circling closer. What do you want? She manages to whisper, the words barely escaping her lips. Her voice quakes, betraying the resolve she tries to muster. The moonlight casts ghastly shapes on the ground, revealing the edges of what might lie buried just below. Sweat beads on her brow as his sinister grin widens. You know far too much, dear Lisa. His voice drips with cold malice, resonating like the toll of a heavy bell. You should have stayed away. Despite her urge to flee, something, fear, perhaps, holds her rooted. He takes a deliberate step towards her, and she stumbles back. Dirt crumbles underfoot, the crumbling remnants of the past lurking in the periphery. Her mind races, thoughts colliding in a frenzy. What would happen to her children? Could she risk knowing what lay beneath, or was ignorance her only shield? No. She breathes, backing away, thoughts lingering on her kids sleeping at home. Would they be safe in an ignorant bliss, or would they be drawn into whatever darkness this man controlled? A sickening realization dawns upon her, a deep, clawing fear. It's not just about Mr. Graves. The very ground beneath her, the air tainted with whispers of the past, the echoes of those who had vanished before. She spots the rusted metal still half buried near her feet, a grotesque reminder of what had been unearthed. Listen carefully, Graves continues, his tone shifting to a low, softer whisper that prickles her skin. Blood demands blood. The old ways are not easily forgotten, and neither are those who owe a debt. You would do well to forget this night. Something shifts in her, igniting a flicker of desperation. She must protect her children, even if that means confronting this terrifying figure. With a swift inhalation, she steps forward, a sudden surge of courage enveloping her like a cloak of steel. I won't let you harm them. I'll fight for my family. Her voice slices through the heavy air, momentarily surprising the man. For a fleeting second, doubt glimmers in his eyes, but it vanishes as quickly as it appeared. Lisa raises her chin defiantly, then, without warning, the night explodes into chaos. Dark shapes emerge from the shadows, whispers flaring to guttural shouts. She gasps, watching as the neighborhood slumbers on, oblivious to the danger lurking around them. They're still just across the street, but in her mind, they're light years away. One of the figures lunges forward, angry and disfigured. Lisa feels a scream claw at her throat as she recognizes the face. It's a neighbor she once shared coffee with, now a hollow shell of a person, their eyes glazed. Help us. The specter wails, fingers stained with dirt. He won't let us go. Panic dances through her veins. Lisa knows she can't remain there, but how could she walk away from the cries of the lost? She spins to find Mr. Graves, but he has vanished, like smoke on the wind. The garden is alive, writhing with unseen horrors, and now it feels as if the earth itself is swallowing everything whole. With a terrified breath, Lisa turns to run. As she races back toward her home, heavy footsteps echo in the night behind her. Someone or something is in pursuit. The darkness isn't finished with her yet. What will she face when she reaches her doorstep? Will her children be safe, or will they fall victim to the darkness that grips Maplewood in its wicked embrace? The path back home feels endless, shadows clawing at her heels like a living thing. Each pounding footstep behind her reverberates in her skull, a dreadful rhythm that makes her heart race faster. She can't look back. No, not now. Fear threatens to swallow her whole if she falters. Lisa's lungs burn as she sprints up the familiar steps of her porch, breath hitching in her throat. The door looms ahead, a barrier between the maddening chaos outside and the safety of her home. But will it even be safe? She fumbles for her keys, trembling fingers unable to grasp the cool metal. The sound of the footsteps grows louder, more insistent, as if some hungry beast savors the chase. Open. Open, damn it. She hisses at herself, her voice a desperate whisper. Finally, the key slips inside the lock, and the door creaks wide. Lisa bursts in, slamming it shut behind her. The quiet of her home feels surreal, an eerie contrast to the night's horrors just outside. The living room is dimly lit, shadows stretching across the walls, but it's safe, or so she hopes. Lisa steels herself and runs to the hallway, the sound of her children's gentle breathing echoing in the dark, a melody of innocence against the monstrous night. Sarah. James. She calls, her voice breaking. They shouldn't be alone. A whimper of dread prickles her skin as she crouches near their bedroom door, fear and maternal instinct pulling her in two directions. But she can't listen. The pounding is still there, chaos threatening to bleed inside her sanctuary, clawing at the edges. As she pushes open the bedroom door, she is met with the soft glow of their nightlight. The room is untouched, however still too still. Fear twists in her stomach when her gaze falls upon Sarah's empty bed. Where is she? Lisa, a soft voice whispers from behind her. She spins around, heart racing anew, only to find nothing but shadows. Her muscles tense as she grips the doorframe, scanning the darkness. Sarah? James? Where are you? A cold draft slips through her fingers, grazing against her skin. Shivers run down her spine. She turns back, and suddenly, there's movement. A figure stands at the foot of the bed. Mommy, is that you? It's her daughter's voice, small but laced with a chilling undercurrent. Relief washes over Lisa as she approaches, but as her eyes adjust to the darkness, her heart drops. Sarah's expression is vacant, not the smiley child she left just moments before. I couldn't sleep. They called to me, said they needed help. Who? Lisa asks, the word escaping her mouth like a plea. They were there. Sarah points with a small, pale finger to the empty corner of the room. They want us to join. A voice, deep and sinister, slithers through the air. You shouldn't have come back, Lisa. The voice freezes her blood. She spins to face the doorway, dread pooling in her stomach. Mr. Graves stands there, silhouetted by the dim light, a leering smile cutting across his face. Shadows ripple around him, flickering like flames hungry for warmth. You can't escape this debt, he rasps. It's time to pay. In that moment, the realization crashes into Lisa like a tidal wave. The darkness isn't just an enemy lurking outside, it's already inside. The line between safety and horror blur into something grotesque and unmistakable. With a last shred of courage, she steps in front of her daughter, ready to shield her from the nightmare threatening to envelop their lives. But the shadows move against her will, tugging at her feet like icy tendrils, pulling her towards Mr. Graves. Run, Sarah! Get your brother! She screams, but her voice feels small, almost swallowed by the encroaching darkness. As her daughter darts away, Lisa feels the weight of despair settling in. Will she lose everything? And just how far does this debt reach? The door creaks open with eerie familiarity, an invitation, or perhaps a command. The chilling thought creeps in, the true horror had just begun. What other horrors lay in wait, eager to drag her back into the abyss? The darkness started to close in, and a question lingers, is the worst yet to come? Lisa's heart hammered in her chest as the pull of the shadows grew stronger, wrapping around her like heavy chains. She fought against them, desperate to reach her daughter, but they were relentless. They tugged at her limbs, as if whispering promises of surrender, weaving a chilling numbness through her body. Mommy, Sarah's voice echoed, trembling with fear. The sound sliced through the darkness like a knife, igniting a spark of panic. Where are you? I'm here, sweetheart. Lisa managed to choke out, her voice strained and shaky. She scanned the room, searching for her son, but her gaze remained locked on the malevolent figure filling the doorway. Mr. Graves leaned against the frame, a distorted smile stretching wide across his face, his eyes glinting with malice. They can feel your fear, Lisa, he taunted, each sinister word rolling off his tongue like acid. And they want you to know you can't hide from your choices. Lisa's breath quickened, a sense of dread parodying its way down her spine. Choices? What choices? The memories rushed back, dim but haunting conversations with neighbors, a lingering tension, the whispered warnings about the old man whose laughter turned into a cackle in the dark of the night. Suddenly, the shadows pulled tighter around her, a grip growing firmer, squeezing the air from her lungs. She could feel the temperature dropping, an arctic chill creeping beneath her skin. Leave them alone. She screamed, pushing against the darkness. A flicker of resolve ignited within, and she forced herself to take a step forward. The darkness recoiled, letting out a low growl that vibrated through the room. "Come now." Graves smirked, "You know it'll only get worse for you if you resist." "Where's James?" She pressed, searching for any sign of her son amidst the sheets of inky blackness swirling at her feet. That he chuckled, a deep, resonant sound that seemed to echo from the walls themselves. "He is safe for now." The words hung in the air, grotesquely calming yet wrapped in a sense of impending doom. With a sudden rush, Lisa lunged towards her daughter, ignoring the shadows that snarled and clawed at her. She felt the cold tendrils scratch against her legs, pulling her back with a fierce urgency. "Sarah! Come, we have to go now." But as she reached for her daughter, the room shuddered violently. The walls seemed to ripple, changing shape, remolding the space into a labyrinth of twisted corridors and dark corners. The bed vanished, replaced by an abyss that yawned like a creature starving for prey. "Mommy!" Sarah screamed as the ground shifted beneath her tiny feet, pulling her away from Lisa's grasp. "No!" Lisa cried out, lunging just as her daughter slipped from her fingertips. The shadows closed in around her, howling with despair as she felt the weight of loss. Had she already failed? The darkness convulsed, shifting and writhing, and then, for a brief moment, Lisa felt at ease, just enough for her to breathe again. She was still in the room, but it flickered, shifting, pulsating like a living entity. In the brief heartbeat of that moment, a chilling realization struck her: it fed on her terror. "Fight back," she whispered to herself, wild determination burning beneath the surface. Maybe, just maybe, she could turn this around. "Leave her!" Lisa shrieked at Mr. Graves, feeling her heart race through desperation and anger. The shadows hissed softly around her, but she held firm, channeling every ounce of fear into fury, and then it happened. A light broke through the darkness, momentarily spilling across the chaotic room. What was it? It was a memory, a flash of James, his laughter echoing in her mind. With renewed vigor, she turned to face the looming darkness. "I will not be your prisoner. I choose my children." But as soon as those words cracked through her throat, the laughter that once brought her comfort turned to a chilling echo. All at once, arms of darkness shot towards her, shadows clawing at her heart, pulling her toward the flickering glimmer of light. "Mommy!" Sarah's voice panicked her again, but it was fading now, swallowed by the void. In that harrowing moment, Lisa understood no sanctuary awaited her unless she acted. She had to confront the darkness, breach the painful veil that kept her apart from her family. The shadows wailed in protest, as she dashed forward, plunging deeper into the scrabble of confusion. The air heavy, like a sentence awaiting its end, she pressed on. But as she fought through, another realization struck: was the very act of running increasing their hold on her? What awaited her beyond this dark maze? Would she find her children, or would they become the next victims of the insatiable night? As the shadows closed in once more, darkness swirling like a storm, Lisa realized the battle was just beginning. And in that spiraled blackness, a new voice surfaced, mocking her resolve, promising only despair. What other sins lay buried in her past, waiting to rise and consume her? What would she sacrifice to save her family? The answer loomed larger, echoing the unfathomable depth of night. "Tell me, Lisa, how far will you go?" Lisa's pulse raced, a frantic drum echoing in her ears as the shadows encroached. Each step felt like wading through thick tar, but she had no choice. She had to fight. "I will not let you take them," she bellowed, the words tearing from her throat with a desperation born of pure instinct. The walls shuddered, the twisted architecture around her morphing, a grotesque mockery of her hope. She felt the weight of the dark entity pressing down, suffocating. The shadows around her weren't just shadows, they were the memories, the mistakes she had buried deep, now clawing their way to the surface, desperate for acknowledgement. "Mommy! Where are you?" Sarah's voice broke through again, but it was softer now, as if the very fabric of the world was consuming it. Lisa's heart cracked, sensing the helplessness in her daughter's tone. She could almost picture Sarah, tiny and terrified, somewhere in this realm of horror. "Hold on, baby." Lisa shouted, but the darkness cackled in response, greedily devouring her words. Your love can't save them, Graves teased, his voice smooth like silk but cold as ice. They're trapped in choices you made. This is your doing, Lisa. Frustration boiled inside her. Choices. What choices? The memories throbbed like painful wounds, arguments, whispers behind closed doors, her own unspoken fears neglecting them. Each reminiscence wrapped her tighter in the chilling grasp of realization. As nightmarish shadows writhed around her, they spoke to her, their whispers becoming clearer. You knew the dangers. You ignored them. Let us remind you. A flicker of movement caught her eye. There. Just a few feet away, a shadow darted. Was it James? She shoved through the darkness, adrenaline driving her forward. The familiar sound of laughter bubbled from the darkness, teasing her. Mommy! It echoed in concert with a shrill cry. But as she neared, the shadow melted into the ground like a phantom. She plunged after it, hands reaching, but grasped only air, her fingers sliding through the chilling void. No! Come back! The ground trembled, shifting again beneath her feet. The chilling laughter shattered into countless sharp shards, each jab harder than the last, driving daggers of guilt through her. Why did you leave us? The voices blended, a chorus of the lost, accusations steeped in her regrets. I didn't leave you. I would never. She screamed, her voice raw and fraying. Then why aren't you here? Graves hissed, stepping closer, a dark stain against the swirling chaos. His ghastly smile widened, revealing jagged teeth. You thought you could run away from your past, but it was never truly gone. Lisa stumbled back, torn between fear and anger. She couldn't let them win. Rage surged through her, igniting a fire that blazed through the dread in her heart. She thought of Sarah's soft laugh, James's warmth. I will not yield. In that moment of defiance, a surge of light ignited within her, memories of smile-filled evenings, of bedtime stories and laughter intertwined with love. The shadows recoiled, growls of frustration rippling through the air. For a heartbeat, she felt a crack in the darkness, her spirit bruised but unyielding. Let them go. She shouted, her voice echoing stronger than before, weaving through the layers of night. You can't have my family. The shadows squirmed and lashed at her, angry and desperate. What will you give in return? They lashed out. What can you sacrifice to rescue them? The question sank deep, a lead weight in her stomach. What would she sacrifice? The decision loomed like an unseen predator stalking her every thought. Just then, the darkness around her flickered again. Could it be? Was she breaking through? Clarity began to emerge as she realized the swirling shadows encased more than just her family. They were also chained to her deepest fears and guilt. Panic surged once more, pushing her forward. She had to confront this, had to face what lay within. Would it set them free, or would it seal their doom? Each step she took echoed loudly, the fear clinging tightly like a second skin, but claws of determination gripped her heart to forge ahead. And just as she braced herself for the confrontation, the cold voice of Graves returned, quieter, more sinister. You can't win without losing something precious. Tell me, Lisa, what will you give? In the flickering light, surrounded by torment and uncertainty, she felt the weight of the choice loom larger than life itself. What price would she pay to reclaim her family? The dark air crackled with anticipation as Lisa steadied herself against the pull of the shadows. Graves loomed larger, each sinister grin stretching beyond comprehension. Lisa felt herself shrinking beneath the weight of his gaze, her resolve wavering. What can you bear to lose? He unsheathed the words like a blade, and fear bloomed in her chest. She thought of her family, locked away from her, each moment stretching into an abyss of despair. Unraveling threads tugged at her heart, memories flashing like lightning, Sarah's tiny fingers, James's protective hug. They needed her. But at what cost? Maybe I should sacrifice you instead, she shot back, the words tainted with a desperation that surprised even her. The shadows recoiled, horrified laughter echoing back, but Graves' amusement lingered, icy and piercing. "Nothing can be exchanged without a price," he crooned, his voice dripping with malice. "You can't shift the burden. It always finds its way back to you." The shadows hissed, twisting and contorting, hungry for her vulnerabilities, each motion a reminder of things left undone. As her turmoil twisted within, shadows of her past swirled around her, recalling her fears in vivid tapestry. The night James received that job offer. The isolation that followed. The explosive fights, the silences that screamed louder than words. The essence of every tear she shed crystallized in the darkness, reflecting her deepest insecurities. "It's all your fault." They shrieked in unison, a maddening choir demanding justice. "No!" Lisa shouted, shaking her head violently, trying to dispel their tormenting declarations like confetti. "It wasn't just me." But the shadows only grew bolder, wrapping around her. "You thought you could forget?" They tightened their grip as she faltered, crushing her against the cold wall of regret. Each wave of darkness advanced, threatening to drown her in an ocean of despair. "Stop! Just let them go!" she cried, pushing against the wave of despair, her voice nearly lost in the cacophony. Yet, from the whirlpool of despair, a faint light flickered again, the glow of love. Pictures of laughter danced in her mind. Moments made of warmth and joy, birthday parties, first day of school, hugs goodnight. With every memory, her spirit wove tighter, fueling the flame within her. "No. You can't take them without a fight." The shadows recoiled, as if slapped by her defiance. There was something about it that brought hesitation. Graves narrowed his eyes, sensing the momentum shift. "A flicker won't save you," he taunted, reaching out to grasp her arm. The contact sent electric shivers coursing through her veins, momentarily overwhelming her. The cold seeped inside, and for the briefest moment, she saw glimpses of the depths of her worst fears. Could this be the sacrifice he sought? The fight against despair that would lead to her downfall. Gritting her teeth, she drew her breath deep, summoning every ounce of courage she had left. "You think I'm afraid of you? Of losing?" She braced herself against the shadows, igniting the fire of love that burned deep. "They are worth every pain I have ever faced." Each word felt like a beacon, a harsh light slicing through the murky depths. The shadows hesitated once more, a moment of vulnerability swelling. Lisa surged forward, forcing her will against their dark form, desperately reaching for Sarah and James. Then she heard it again, Sarah's fading voice, more fragile than before. "Mommy," it whispered like an echo of hope through the void. "Hold on, love." Lisa screamed through the ache, the walls trembling in response. But as she lunged, the shadows swarmed, a chorus of chaotic whispers rising like a storm. "What will you give us, Lisa?" The air trembled with their sinister demands, the walls pulsing with dark energy. Menacing forces edged closer. What was she willing to sacrifice? An image burst into her mind, a loss that felt insurmountable. For a fleeting second, she hesitated. What if? The dark doubt crawled in, roiling her stomach. Just then, Lisa caught sight of a flickering shape in the distance. Obscured but unmistakably familiar. Was it Sarah? Or James? The air pulsed with urgent need, pulling her toward that glimmer of hope. Did she have the strength to reach them? Or would the price be far too steep? With the shadows drawing ever closer, she had to make a choice. Her heart raced wildly as the distance between them seemed to stretch. How much longer could she hold on? And as the darkness pressed down with a new ferocity, a chilling thought gnawed at her. What if this was all a trap, a final play from Graves as he lured her deeper into despair? What awaited her on the other side? Would she lay it all down to find out? The shadows thickened, swirling with an aggressive rhythm, as Lisa struggled against their suffocating grip. Every nerve in her body screamed to turn back, yet the flickering figure grew clearer, a beacon in the abyss. But was it real? Or just another deceitful mirage conjured by Graves and his malicious minions? Move! The shadows hissed, their breath icy against her skin. They pressed in, tightening their grasp, clawing at her very essence. Her heart pounded. Each thud echoed in her ears, a desperate drumbeat urging her forward while terror clawed at her heels. "Mommy, help!" the voice drifted through the chaos, slicing through her fear. Lisa's instincts ignited a primal need to protect, to fight. "Give us the child," Graves hissed, his voice oozing like poison. "Or kneel and embrace the darkness." The choice loomed over her like a dark sword, heavy with consequences. Could she really barter for her family? What was she meant to sacrifice? A piece of her soul? A memory? For them. Lisa roared, pushing against the swirling entities. The words slipped from her lips, defiant and raw. They twisted around her, animated by her resolve. "I'd give anything." Sudden silence. Time froze momentarily, a tense pause hanging in the air. The shadows recoiled, then rushed in like a tidal wave. Their hunger was palpable, a gnawing sensation at the back of her mind. "What do you have to lose, then?" Graves' chilling smile widened, revealing gleaming, sharp teeth. "Leave your heart behind, and perhaps they might be spared." "No." Something inside her broke. The thought of letting go sent jagged shards of ice through her veins, but that fleeting image of her children, trapped and vulnerable, ignited the fire within her. Behind every dread-filled choice was a reason, a flicker of hope begging to shine through. "Let go!" she screamed, wrestling her trembling hand against the pull of the shadows. The air crackled as her descent rose like a phoenix. "I will not surrender to you." But the shadows surged, howling with anger, their sinister cries rising to a fever pitch. They lashed out, wrapping around her throat as if to choke out the very defiance she had summoned. Pain blossomed, a dark flower opening deep in her chest, and dread knotted her stomach. In that moment of darkness, shadows wove a terrifying tapestry of her greatest fears, lost moments of joy, faces of her children twisted in despair, the haunting echoes of sorrow. Each fear paraded before her, dragging her down to the depths of hopelessness. Enough. She gave in to her panic, envisioning Sarah and James beckoning from the darkness. She saw their eyes, felt the warmth of their love, their unwavering belief in her. They were fighting too, weren't they? Suddenly, an idea ignited in her mind, a twist of fate waiting to be unleashed. If it was a trap, then maybe she could turn it against them. "I don't fear the darkness." With a sudden, wild strength, she pulled a piece of that love from deep within, wrapping it around her like a shield. The shadows shrieked, a cacophony of rage as the warmth pushed back against the cold. "Lisa!" A voice called out, powerful in the chaos, a tether of strength threading through despair, igniting her spirit even more fiercely. Was it James? Imagining his face gave her the final push she needed, the desperate desire to be reunited with him and Sarah. But as she surged forward, grasping for the light, the shadows writhed violently. "You don't understand the cost." Graves sneered, fear finally creeping into his tone, and in that moment, illuminated by renewed hope, Lisa felt herself breaking through the neon glow, a force like nothing she had ever known. Was she daring enough to follow it? To leap into the unknown, where both love and darkness waited at the edge of the abyss? Just as she reached out, the shadows vanished, revealing a chasm teeming with wavering shapes, her family. Or a new nightmare? "Mommy!" The cry rang clearer than ever, mingling with the laughter of lost memories. Would that cry morph into a scream? Or could they stand together, arms intertwined, as they faced Graves' end? Whatever lay beyond. As she leapt into the swirling unknown, Lisa grasped fate by the hand. What awaited her on the other side? The climax was drawing near, but she was almost too frightened to embrace the truth of the sacrifice it required. Crumbling into the void felt like an eternity, suspended in an endless spiral of darkness. For a fleeting instant, Lisa feared she might be lost forever, swallowed by the abyss. But then, a rush of color exploded before her, a kaleidoscope of memories flooding her senses, filling the air with laughter, warmth, and most disturbingly, dread. "Mommy!" The call pierced her heart, slicing through the layers of darkness like a knife. The voices swirled around her like whispers on the wind, her children, coaxing her, grounding her to reality. Suddenly, she landed hard, the impact shaking her to the core. The ground felt alive beneath her, pulsing like a wounded beast. She gasped, flooding her lungs with sharp, cold air, and blinked against the harsh brightness surrounding her. It was a graveyard. Shadows from crooked tombstones stretched like dark fingers, clawing toward her. The air felt thick and heavy, suffocating. Graves stood at the far end, his grin growing wider, impossibly sinister. There he was, the puppeteer of this nightmare. "Welcome back, Lisa." His voice slithered through the air. "Did you think a jump into the darkness would save your beloved children?" He raised his hands, and the shadows shimmered like heat waves, looming with a life of their own. Fear surged through her, a tidal wave of panic. "Where are they?" He laughed. The sound echoed against the tombstones, mocking her grief. "You didn't really think they were safe, did you?" "No." Rage sparked within her, igniting every inch of her being. She took a step forward, fists clenched, every muscle trembling with a desperate need to fight. "You will not take them from me." Brave words for a woman tied to the darkness, he taunted, gesturing theatrically toward a gnarled tree. The shadows coalesced, forming into twisted figures. Faces appeared mournful, pleading, and horrified. They were all the children, the lost, the forgotten. "Mommy?" It was Sarah's voice again, childlike and innocent. Lisa's heart shattered at the sound. "Get away from them." She pushed past her fear, her love for her children hardening her resolve. "Tell me, Lisa, what's your price?" Graves questioned, tilting his head as if appraising a rare gem. "Your yes could mean their freedom. What will you sacrifice?" "Anything. Just let them go." "Anything." His eyes glinted with malicious delight. "Your memories. Your humanity. A mother's sacrifice, perhaps. You can't have them." She screamed, her breath heavy with despair. But even as she shouted, doubt began to creep in, gnawing at her confidence. What if the cost was more than she could bear? "Ah, but they will pay the price if you do not," he hissed, closing the distance between them. "Will you risk it all, or will you embrace darkness and join them?" The ground quaked beneath her as she weighed her choices. Images of her children danced in her mind, bright flashes of joy and innocence fighting against the encroaching dark. And suddenly, she heard another voice, whispering deep within, a reminder of her strength, the unyielding love of a mother. "They need you." It urged her fiercely, talons digging through the panic. With newfound clarity, Lisa stood taller. "I choose love," she cried, and the shadows howled in fury, recoiling from her declaration. Graves' expression shifted from amusement to rage. "You will pay for this defiance." The shadows behind him pulsed violently, converging like a storm ready to break. And just as the darkness surged forward, Lisa felt the ground tremble beneath her once again. "Mom." The cry echoed, raw and broken. Was it Sarah? Was it James? Her pulse raced. The shadowy figures closed in, and with each heartbeat, she felt the weight of their fear transmit through the air. The world around her warped. Lisa braced for the impact, her love fueling her fury. If this truly was a battle, she would protect what was hers at all costs. But as the shadows collided with her, everything froze. The air buzzed thick, charged with impending dread. Would her love be enough to shield them from Graves' wicked wrath? Or was she walking straight into a trap, one that tightened around her, ready to suffocate her hope? The question hung heavy, suffocating in its uncertainty. The shadows pulsed, hungry and alive. Lisa felt their grasp closing in, like icy fingers wrapping around her throat. A wave of foreboding washed over her, dragging down her heart. Was this truly the end? Time seemed to suspend. Her thoughts flashed to Sarah and James. The gusts of cool air whispered their names, an echo of innocence lost. If only she could break through the wall of darkness, reach out, and grasp their fragile hands once again, and then, a sudden clarity. The warmth of her children surged within her, fueling a silent war cry. "I will protect you," she shouted, shattering the silence. The shadows recoiled, but Graves only laughed, a chilling sound reverberating in the heavy air. "Foolish mother, your love won't save them," he hissed, his voice dripping with a mix of mockery and disdain. "It merely feeds the darkness." As his laughter faded, the atmosphere shifted. The shadows, sparked by her defiance, began to writhe violently like serpents in heat. Their forms twisted into grotesque caricatures of her worst fears, the faces of her children distorted, pleading for help that never seemed to come. "Help us, Mommy." Their voices wove through the tempest, sorrowful and haunting. The shadows were feeding off her anxiety, amplifying her dread. Lisa gritted her teeth, determined not to let this energy consume her. "Get away from my kids." She surged forward, arms raised as if to banish the darkness. The ground trembled beneath her, vibrating with the sector of her emotions, love battling against despair. Suddenly, a figure broke from the shadows. It was a silhouette, familiar yet terrifying. Lisa squinted, heart thudding in her chest. "Graves, who is that?" His eyes narrowed, irritation flickering. "A reminder of what you've lost," and there it was, the dark, twisted form of a lost child. It resembled Sarah but wore the Shadow's mask, an innocent face smeared with darkness. Lisa staggered back. "No. This isn't my daughter." She yelled, horror not just at the sight but also at the truth seeping into her bones. "This is a trick." But the figure's mouth twisted into a smirk, and it began to shape-shift, melding into memories of her past visits to the park, bedtime stories, baking cookies together, each one dragged through the dim light like a ghost clinging to life. "This is your past, Lisa. Your regret. Every moment you've spent in fear, wishing for just one more second." Graves leaned closer, his breath chilling her skin. "You think you're special? Your love is powerless in the face of despair." "No." Lisa felt the swell of defiance in her chest, igniting her soul. "I will not be your puppet, Graves. I won't to let you stain my children's memories." But as she spoke, more shadows emerged from the ground, swirling faster around her. The graveyard twisted and morphed into a nightmarish landscape of lost dreams, every step she took now suffocated by palpable dread. "Join us," they whispered, a chorus of echoes filled with despair. Kneeling, Lisa focused all her energy on her memories, her love, and her will. "I command it," she shouted into the chaos. And just like that, a familiar warmth surged within her, pushing back against the shadows. "I choose love." The ground beneath her rumbled, cracking like thunder as a force shot from her. Shadows shrieked and recoiled, merging back into the earth from which they came. Was it enough to break his hold? Graves stumbled backward, his grin faltering as he watched the shadows retreat. "This isn't over, Lisa," he shouted, rage boiling in his voice. The ground around her erupted, flames licking at the edges of the graves, heart pounding. Lisa looked for the children. "Sarah. James." But as her voice echoed, a different sound broke through a cacophony of mournful cries that drowned out even her own. The shadows flickered and pulsed, returning with renewed vigor as Graves recovered. The darkness began to surge back, a relentless tide poised to reclaim her vulnerability. Desperation clawed at her throat. How could she fight this? Was there truly a way to free her children without losing herself in the process? And as she braced for the next wave, she heard something new. A whisper, subtle yet strong, weaving through the chaos. "The truth is hidden, find it." What truth? A shaking fear gripped her. But without answers, what hope did she have? Was this the secret to saving them, or merely another trap? Shadowy figures lurked closer, and the sense of dread suffocated her once more. She had to make a choice. But what was lurking deeper in the darkness, waiting for her next move? With every heartbeat, time seemed to close in again, the weight of the graveyard pressing down on her shoulders, suffusing the air with impending doom. Lisa's heart raced, pounding like a drum as the shadows surged forward with a vengeful roar. Graves stood, maliciously smiling, as if feeding off her fear. Panic clawed at her, urging her to succumb, but no, she couldn't let the darkness win. "I won't give up," she shouted, forcing her trembling legs to carry her forward. She recalled the flickers of warmth that had kept her anchored, laughter, joy, love, and plans unmade. "I will find you, my children," she cried, and as if the air itself rallied behind her words, a sudden surge of energy coursed through her. With each step, shadows howled and shrieked in protest, yet she pressed on, her love burning like an unquenchable flame within her. "Come on, my loves. I can feel you." And then, as if answering her call, she saw shapes emerging from the shadows. Distant yet familiar, could it be Sarah and James? Their laughter rang through the cacophony, a sweet, melodic sound piercing the chaos. "Mommy! Hold on!" she screamed back, racing toward the haunting, tender echoes. The shadows swelled dangerously around her, but they faltered in the presence of her resolve, splintering under the strength of her emotions. "Let them go, Graves!" she shouted, determination grounding her as she gathered her courage. "Your power is nothing against a mother's love." The ground shook violently as if reacting to her defiance, sending vibrations coursing through her legs. A crack appeared beneath her feet, revealing dark fissures that threatened to swallow everything whole. The light flickered, battling the encroaching darkness. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the dark, small, innocent. "Help us, Mommy!" It was Sarah, eyes wide and bright with fear, yet shimmering with hope. Lisa lunged forward, arms outstretched, her heart soaring. "I'm here, baby. Keep calling. For us, Lisa. Help us dare to sacrifice." Graves taunted, his voice echoing unnaturally, wrapping around her mind like a noose. "They will suffer for your choices." "No." Desperation sparked rage within her. "It ends here." With every ounce of her strength gathered from the depths of her soul, Lisa screamed, unleashing her love like a tidal wave. Clenching her fists, she poured all her heart, every joyful memory, and painful moment into the air. The shadows whipped wildly as if burned by her fierce declaration. They shrieked, angst rippling through the dark forms laden with regret as they recoiled. Graves stumbled, his twisted smile faltering. You can't. Watch me." Lisa shouted, the protective instinct surging forth, breaking through the dread that wrapped around her. "I choose them. I choose to fight." The ground beneath her surged, thundering with her will as she surged forward. The shadows writhed violently, but she pressed onward, free from despair, embracing only the light. "Mommy!" Sarah's soft voice pierced the dark cocoon surrounding Lisa. "We're scared." "I'm coming!" she screamed in response, her voice reverberating through the tombstone-lined abyss. "Love will conquer all." With one last, empowered rush, Lisa plunged into the darkness, shattering the barrier of shadows like glass. It exploded into sparkles of light, every fear, every regret bursting free, illuminating the way. And there they were, Sarah and James stood by a gnarled tree, their faces painted with fear but also flickering hope. "Mommy!" they called, uniting in a chorus that pulsed with warmth. "No!" Graves screamed, a thunderous roar echoing as the darkness attempted to reclaim its hold, but it was too late. Lisa reached out, fingers grasping air, heart pounding with ferocity. "Hold on. I'm coming." As she crossed the threshold, light enveloped her, a brilliant explosion pushing back the darkness. The shadows twitched and coiled, shrieking as they dissolved into the ether, retreating from the fierce light of her determination. Together. she declared, hands clasping her children as the bright energy encased them, lifting their spirits far above the dark confines. "Mommy!" They clutched at her tightly, and she felt their warmth, their love pouring into her, fueling her soul, with the darkness dispersing. Graves' visage twisted in rage, shadowy tendrils snapping at the edges of his form. "This isn't over," he thundered, but the shadows shriveled back. Lisa, resolute, tightened her grip on her children, her eyes ablaze with an unyielding fire. "You're wrong. Love conquers fear." As the last vestiges of darkness evaporated into the night, Lisa stood tall, a warrior, a mother, full of hope. With her children safe in her arms, she knew that echoes of the past might linger, their lessons forever etched, but what mattered now was the light of the present, the unity they had forged together. They stepped beyond the shadows, into the welcoming glow of dawn, leaving behind the haunted graves of Maplewood. And as the sun ascended, illuminating the way forward, Lisa whispered an unbreakable vow: "We'll never let the darkness return." As they moved towards their home, the warmth of the day embraced them one step closer to healing, one step closer to reclaiming their lives from the shadows. That if you've loved this wild ride with Lisa and her children and want more exclusive stories like this, you need to subscribe now. Don't miss out, hit that bell and select all notifications so you're the first to know about new content. Smash that like button right now to support the channel and keep those algorithms shining bright. Flood the comments section with your thoughts, reactions, and theories about what comes next. We want to hear from you, and for the love of every eerie tale out there, share this video immediately with at least 5 friends who need to hear this thrilling conclusion. Don't wait even one more second, your support means everything.